Hello and welcome back to MaxTradesCrypto. Today we have quite a complex video as we have quite a complex range going on, but I'm going to do my best to try and explain it to you guys. So, starting on the daily time frame, we have this move that we see at the moment, a 1, 2, 3, 4 and wave 5. This is on the daily time frame. We call this an impulse. There's either this scenario where we have a standard impulse to the upside, or where we have something called a bullish 1-2. Now, a 1-2 scenario is where instead of us just having a standard impulse, we have a 1-2, and inside that wave 3, like we had the wave 3 here, we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 towards the upside, and then inside that other wave 3, the blue one on the chart, we have another 1, 2, 1, 2, and another one and another one. So this can continue for ages. This is probably the most bullish chart at the moment, targeting very, very high levels for the bull market, somewhere around $200,000 to $220,000. But at the moment, we're going to use this scenario as our main one, where the bull market top is around $140,000 to $160,000. Now, if we go more into the charts, we can see here on the 4-hourly time frame, we broke down this wave 4. The wave 4 was a very, very long correction, this yellow wave 4, and now we are looking for that wave 5 towards the upside. When we finish a standard correction, we always look for one of two things. We either look for an impulse, like we've already discussed, or we look for a diagonal, somewhere along the lines of this, where we have trend lines that converge and wave 1 and wave 4 price action overlaps. So these are the two things we are looking for currently off the low at wave 4. But we do not see a diagonal at the moment, so instead we are looking at this 1-2 scenario here. We can see here in white we had a 1 up, 2 down, and then the wave 3 still to come, 4, and then wave 5. You can see this would be the white wave 5, finishing that yellow larger degree wave 5 as well. Now, inside this white wave 3, we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Currently, we have not yet finished that wave, the white wave 3 yet, and therefore not yet finished the impulse in green on the chart. We'll discuss more in depth then. And we then have inside this green wave 3 another 5 wave structure, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in purple. You can see we have indeed finished that 5 wave structure, and we are now looking for that wave 4 in green. So recently if we go to, actually we can zoom in just on the 4-hourly time frame, you can see here that this range has been forming for quite a while now. We topped at around that $108,000 level after that big move up, and now we have kind of just been ranging in this area for a while. But what did happen is inside this range, we formed another top at $109,900. This is where I think that this purple wave 4 ended over here in a standard A, B, C correction. And now we are looking for, or we finished that wave 5 to the upside in an impulse. This happened very, very quickly. And now we are looking for another wave 4 in green before shooting even higher. So oftentimes in a wave 4, we have quite a few things that can go on. We have a standard ABC, something along the lines of this, ABC, or we have a flat, which is where the A wave goes up, or actually down. The A wave goes down, B wave expands higher than the wave A, and then C wave expands lower than the bottom of the wave A. So this would be the A, this would be the B, and this would be the wave C. These are all things that we look for inside a wave 4. But at the moment, we have something called a WXY, also a very common thing in a wave 4. So a WXY is also a standard correction, something like this, except inside a wave W, instead of a 5-wave structure in a wave A and a 5-wave structure in a wave C, we have 3-wave structures all around, something along the lines of A, B, C, A, B, C, and A, B, C. This would be a W, this would be a wave X, and this would be the wave Y. So this is what we are currently looking at, and this is why this range becomes quite complex, because WXYs end up being very complex structures. They end up, I wouldn't ever trade things on a WXY. You can only trade the range. So I'm going to explain that to you now. If we look at our main scenario on the chart at the moment, we have the finished ABC in the wave in the blue to finish the pink wave 4, and then we finished the wave 5. After this wave 5, we can zoom into the hourly time frame. After that wave 5, we can see here that we had a lot of choppy price action. I mean, very, very choppy price action here, going up and down almost like a slingshot all the time. I mean, this drawing just looks ridiculous. So trading this is very, very difficult, obviously, because you have an area where things are increasing and decreasing very, very quickly. So if we look at what we can see at the moment, we have a standard WXY in wave 4. This wave 4 is still to come now, or still being completed here. A W down in a 3-wave structure here, something along the lines of an A, B, and a wave C. And now we are looking for that wave X. The wave X heavily decreases probabilities to be a wave X if the 0.7 is touched at $103,995. Now, inside a wave X can be almost any corrective structure. So a WXY, an ABC, a flat ABC. So we don't really know what to expect until we start seeing downward moves in the start of wave Y. So be very careful if you are willing to trade this. Now, after this wave X would be formed, we are looking for another ABC in wave Y or an ABC in wave Y. Very, very slingshot price action, but all targeting this box over here. This box sits at $80,462 to $94,932 on the chart. So once that is complete, and once we come even deeper into this green box, we can possibly look then for a turnaround. But at the moment, we are looking for possibly a little bounce in that wave Y, possibly an ABC again in that wave Y. Very, very complex structure and very, very difficult to trade. So please, please do be careful. This is our main scenario on the chart. As it is lots of slingshot price action, I'm not going to be doing multiple scenarios here. There are many, many different ways to count this range, but do just look at the target boxes. If you were to have invested anytime we have touched the green box, right? This green box can be pulled through all the way this way as well. So anytime you had this green box touched is an area you could have indeed made money. I mean, we touched it once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, and every single time we have moved out of that green box regardless, and you could have taken a really substantial amount of profits. So it is not as important to look at what is happening right now on the slingshot price action, but more important to look at what boxes we are ticking at the moment. So this green box over here, please do look at with heavy ideology, as this is the area we are looking for a bounce from, a larger bounce to around that $123,000 mark. Now, if we are to look at the RSI on the daily time frame, I saw this just now when charting, we can see here that we are heavily oversold. Now, At the moment, we have made such a range that we've been oversold quite a few times. We were oversold here, and every time this chart was oversold, was also another area to make money. Oversold here, if you can see, oversold here, we came up. Oversold here, we came up. Oversold now, the likelihood that we come up on some form of bounce, either the wave X or another type of structure, then falling back down again, is very high. So we are looking for some form of bounce at the moment, and the RSI also includes that bounce on its time frame. Now, if we take away the RSI and look at trend lines at the moment, this trend line was indeed acting as very, very good resistance. You can see we touched it once again over here, but unfortunately we have broken through that trend line now. And our next possible trend line that is on the chart is this one here. We can see this trend line sits at around, if we were to come down, at around that $75,000 mark, but also if this range continues, we might touch it in that green box. Again, very possible there too. Another trend line I just see at the moment while we are looking is this one here. Also possibly a very important trend line, touching both all these areas of support, and now we could come down touching that 0.382 over here. Also possibly a very, very good area to long the market from. So do keep an eye on these two trend lines, as they can act as crucial support for price. Then if we look at short term, very interesting actually. In confluence with the trend line at the moment, we have these two fair value gaps. Now, a fair value gap is when we have three candles. Let's actually use this one as a good example. Three candles that the first candle closes with a wick, the third candle closes with a wick, and the gap between these two create a fair value gap. So you can see this candle's wick stops here, this candle's wick stops here, and we now have therefore created a gap in the market. That gap is oftentimes used as support, so do keep an eye out for these as well. So we have quite a few on the chart at the moment, but the most important ones are obviously the ones in this green box that we've been talking about. This green box is, there are so many things in confluence at the moment, from fib levels to support and resistance to trend lines to, there's just everything around this green box at the moment. A very good area to possibly long from. But if we are possibly going to go up, come down, possibly get a wick into this fair value gap, and then turn around in another impulse, this looks like a very, very good area to trade from. So I can indeed mention that on the trade possibilities now. But if we do crash through this fair value gap and it is filled out, the next fair value gap sits at around $80,000, followed by the next one at $74,000. But hopefully we don't get that low and we continue the bullish price action we've been seeing for the past few months. This range is just a little hiccup in the market, and many people are getting very, very scared, but probably don't need to be, as we've seen this many, many times before. I mean, this correction over here was also a massive, massive amount of time. So this one is actually just very small in the larger perspective of things. Now, for trade possibilities on the 4-hourly time frame, on the last maybe 10 videos I've made, I've mentioned to long in this green box. Now, as I've said before, this green box has acted many, many a times as crucial resistance, or I mean support. You can see here the green box was drawn out ages ago and we have touched it multiple times. But the area on the 4-hourly time frame that I would long from is 0.382 at $86,788. This level has been sitting here for a very, very long time, and we are looking at a possible very good bounce off that area. With the fair value gaps that I've just showed you, the trend lines and the Fibonacci confluences, we are very, very much looking at a bounce or one more low made in this range and then going up once again. But guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Tomorrow's one will hopefully be shorter with a lot less or more info on the chart that we can properly analyze every single wave. At the moment, it is a very complex structure, so do be careful when trading this area. But it's been Max Trades Crypto. Cheers, guys.